Are you ready to dive into a mystery that questions the very existence of one of the holiest sites in Islam? There is a claim that the Kaaba may not exist. In some events that defy all logic, Jesus himself supposedly warned us about a great city in Mecca, the birthplace of Islam. How can this be? Why haven't we heard of this before? Join us on a journey of intrigue and disbelief as we explore the enigma surrounding the Kaaba and the messages hidden within. Have you heard about the amazing occurrence happening in the sacred city of Muslims? You guessed it right. It's Mecca, specifically at the Grand Caba. Brace yourself because something truly unreal has happened. Snowfall in Mecca. Can you believe it? It's actually the first snowfall ever recorded in this holy city, and it has captivated the attention of hundreds of thousands of religious individuals. Now people are seeing this remarkable snowfall as a message from above, and they have some biblical references to back it up. In the book of Psalms, it says that snow is associated with the forgiveness of sins. There's a verse that goes like this: "Clean me with hyssop, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow." And in Isaiah, there's another verse that states that sins as red as crimson can become as white as snow. Speaking of sins, God's word also warns against false prophets. Moses, the great prophet, warned about these false prophets and the punishment they would face. Peter, another apostle, explained that false prophets have existed in the past and would continue to exist even in the present day. These false prophets spread harmful messages filled with lies. Now, let's move on to what's inside the Kaaba. Deep within lies a cornerstone called the Black Stone. It's considered a marvelous thing left by God for humanity. But here's an interesting twist. Satan, always trying to mimic Christ, also put a cornerstone in there. However, Jesus, the one who knows everything, including the secrets of the Kaaba, reveals that Allah of the Quran is actually restrained within the Black Stone. That's a revelation shared by Jesus himself in prophetic revelations found in the book of Revelation. This book also reveals the identity of the false prophet. And guess who it is? None other than Muhammad himself. According to Revelation, this false prophet is predicted to establish an image of a deceptive beast, leading people astray. They are not only deceived, but also commanded to worship this image. It's fascinating how this ties in with the reference to sword wounds, which symbolize judgment and divine authority, mentioned in connection to Jesus' sharp sword issuing from his mouth. It's a powerful force that plays a crucial role in unfolding events. As we delve further into the revelations, we discover that Jesus continues to unveil profound truths. In Revelation 17:8, Jesus discloses the existence of a beast that has come and gone in the past, but is destined to reappear in the future. This enigmatic cycle of existence and non-existence baffles those whose names are not inscribed in the book of life. The beast, according to Jesus, was kicked out of heaven and is currently restrained within a black stone. Now, some people may not fully understand what lies inside the Kaaba. They still mistakenly believe that the Messiah, Jesus, resides there. As a result, they continue to pray fervently at the Kaaba. However, Jesus warns us to flee the great city associated with these false beliefs. It is important to note that Saudi Arabia allows Christians to enter the country as foreign workers, but they are not permitted to openly practice their faith. Consequently, Christians often resort to worshiping in the privacy of their own homes. This can be quite unfair and exhausting when one is unable to publicly celebrate their faith. Therefore, it is advised not to confine oneself to a place that does not belong to them, and instead seek out the true Savior, where there are fellow believers who will pray alongside them. The formation of the Kaaba has its origins in religious history. Muslims believe that Abraham, known as Ibrahim in Islamic tradition, and his son Ishmael constructed the Kaaba. When Muhammad was forced to leave Mecca and took refuge in Medina, the Kaaba became the focal point of Muslim worship and pilgrimage. Prior to Islamic times, the Kaaba housed the black stone and statues of pagan gods. Muhammad reportedly cleansed the Kaaba of idols upon his victorious return to Mecca, restoring it to the monotheistic faith of Abraham. In the New Testament, Abraham is mentioned as a man of faith and obedience to God. However, for Muslims, he is not only a man of faith, but also a prophet and the ancestor of the Prophet Muhammad through his son Ishmael. Muslims believe that Ishmael, not Isaac, was given the blessing of the Kaaba, and his descendants are destined to make an annual pilgrimage and participate in a sacrificial feast at the Kaaba. Contrary to Islamic beliefs, Isaac, not Ishmael, is considered the chosen son through whom God fulfills his promises. Ishmael is described as a warrior and not the inheritor of his father's legacy. It is important to distinguish between the different interpretations and beliefs regarding Abraham's family lineage. Now, let's discuss the concept of the Antichrist and false gods. The Antichrist, also known as the man of sin, will deceive people using Satan's aid and perform miracles that mislead them before the return of Christ. In 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, it is mentioned that God is revealing a warning to people to be cautious when humbly praying somewhere, as the being they are praying to may not be God, but the Antichrist or a false god. Antichrist or false gods are individuals who appear during times of injustice leading up to the end of the world. These individuals bring corruption and oppression to the earth for a period of either 40 days or 40 years. They deceive many through false miracles and teachings. Initially, the Antichrist may claim to be Jesus and later declare himself to be God. He will travel the world, demanding people's followership, tempting them with food, riches, and promises of ending their suffering. While the Antichrist will possess the ability to perform astounding miracles, there is one clear sign that distinguishes him from being an actual deity. He will be unable to fix his own bodily deformities. In his attempts to convince people to follow him, the Antichrist will send his army to fight against those who do not believe in him. False gods are individuals who claim to speak on behalf of God, but have their own hidden agenda. Jesus warned his disciples to be vigilant and keep an eye out for these deceptive individuals. He not only alerted his followers to the dangers associated with false gods, but also provided them with instructions on how to recognize these charlatans. False gods are incredibly dangerous because they deceive and manipulate people, leading them astray from the true path. When Jesus encountered individuals who were lost or seeking guidance, he responded with compassion and patience, answering their questions and providing them with gentle guidance. However, when confronted with religious hypocrites and false teachers, Jesus reacted with righteous fury and bold conviction. God warns us about the Antichrist and false signs so that we remain alert and vigilant. We must not let false signs or false temples misguide us. Rather, we should focus our attention on God and let His light guide us. Although there is something currently holding the Antichrist back from rising to power, the superior power that restrains him will eventually be removed, leading to the Antichrist's reign. But fear not, for God will slay him and judge those who do not believe in Jesus. The return of Jesus will bring great mourning to the earth, as every eye will see him, even those who pierced him. There will be judgment or punishment for those who oppose the atoning sacrifice of Jesus Christ. Therefore, we must continue to believe in God's plan and trust that He will prepare everything for us before His return. Our duty is to remain alert and recognize the signs that God reveals to us. In addition, we should pray diligently, asking for the ability to stay alert and prepare our hearts for His second coming. The rise of false gods has been a recurring problem throughout history. God's people used to rely on hearing and responding to God's voice, but at times they were led astray by counterfeit gods. These false gods claimed to speak on behalf of God, but they only sought personal gain. They would say whatever people wanted to hear, leading them in directions contrary to God's will. Unscrupulous leaders would use these false gods to manipulate and deceive the nation of Israel, causing them to stray from God's path. God strongly condemns these dangerous practices, accusing the false gods of brainwashing and covering up the truth. Instead of addressing Israel's sins truthfully, these fake gods would distort the truth to provide comfort and encouragement. This deception appealed to those who sought a close connection with God without facing challenging truths. Ezekiel 13 highlights this manipulation and the detrimental effects it had on God's people. These prophets often lied to the people, either because they were coached to do so or because they truly believed that their own thoughts and desires came from God. Can you imagine that? People are actually thinking that their own ideas are divine messages. But here's the kicker. God didn't let these false prophets get away with their lies. If they claimed something was from God when it wasn't, they were straight up lying. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. God isn't one to mess around when it comes to the truth. And to make matters worse, false prophets would often team up against the true prophets of God. These charlatans would spout off feel-good prophecies that made them popular, while the legitimate prophets faced danger because they dared to speak the actual truth. It's like a bad reality TV show, but with eternal consequences. Now let's chat about false gods. They're not just a thing of the past, lurking in some distant civilization. No, my friend. False gods can be found right in our own minds. We might imagine a God who's quick-tempered and just waiting to zap us with lightning bolts. But that's far from the truth. God's love for us knows no bounds, and his desire to show mercy outweighs any judgment he may have. So let's get our thoughts about God straight, shall we? Now let's get to the juicy stuff, the end times. When Jesus was asked about the end of the age, he said that only God the Father knows the day and hour. That is all for today. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.